This is our clues into linguistics 101. The origins of all language are nouns. Then the way you manipulate those nouns become verbs. But Allah taught Adam a.s. literally nouns, names of things. Names of things are essentially nouns. And it's as though Allah said, when He said, kullaha, kullaha, all the names there could be. But then He says, thumma aradahum, not aradaha. You notice there's a shift in a pronoun. The name asma can be referred to as ha. So the names, all of them. But then He says, then He brought them, another them, but this them in Arabic is different. Ala al-malaika, He brought them before the angels. This them is referring to, Allah taught human beings, names of things that are living, non-living, and things that are all categories. So it's captured in a more comprehensive pronoun, the hum, aqil and ghayr aqil things are shown to Adam alayhi salam. And then those things all together are brought before the angels. And then He asks them, فَقَالَ أَنْبِئُونِي بِأَسْمَاءِ هَؤُلَاءِ. Give me the names of these, I mean these again, هَؤُلَاءِ. If they were non-human only, it would have been هَذِهِ. But the magnitude of these things, not just their names, the things themselves were praised before the angels and said, tell me the names of these things. إِن كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. If in fact you are truthful, meaning if your claim holds weight, if your claim that this creature is going to shed blood holds any value, then go ahead, tell me the names of these things. Doesn't seem like there's a correlation, but there is. It's being displayed that this human being is going to be given knowledge, and that knowledge can lead to wonderful advances. And by the way, Allah teaching the human being the names of things. Today all sciences boil down to terminology. Doesn't matter what subject you're studying. Maybe you're a student of psychology, maybe you're a student of physiology, or biology, or architecture, or whatever. In the end, you're learning terms, concepts that are defined by terms. And in the end, it all boils down to nouns. It all boils down to a glossary, an index of terminology. At your workplace, to specialize in a field, you have to be versed in certain kinds of terminology. The other day, I was listening to at Eid, listening to a couple of doctors talk to each other. And it went off. It's like, like a plane, it starts slow and then it just takes off. It just took off. And they're talking about something or the other. I can't even repeat the words because I don't know them. But they're really doing like, yeah, really, that happened, and that happened, this happened, and they're just using all this vocabulary, and the rest of us are like, wow, that is pretty crazy. And then one of the elders community told me, when he was younger, he used to live in New York, and all the people around him were pharmacists. So all the Muslims around him were pharmacists. And he was the only non-pharmacist. So he'd go and hang out with all these pharmacists, and they're all talking about medicine and insurance and this and that, and he has no idea what they're talking about for 3 hours. But they were the only human interaction he had. Right? The point I'm trying to make is even specializations today boil down to terms, nouns. All modern knowledge in the end is a byproduct of what Adam was given. The ability to label things. The ability to term things. So this is not referring to revealed knowledge, this is referring to what we can consider, I don't like the term, but worldly or secular knowledge. All the other fields other than religious knowledge. Its origins were planted inside Adam alayhi salam to the point where even the angels had no idea what that stuff is. Okay? And Allah praised that knowledge too. In this ayah, Allah praised that field of knowledge. A lot of times, younger folks also that get zealous about religion, they think, I'm going to study deen. That's the real knowledge to study. Yes, it is. But allama Adam al-asma'a kullaha also. Biology, architecture, history, no matter what, it is also a study of what Allah taught to begin with. It's a study of the ayat of Allah also. And so remember I told you the munafiqun, the fasiqun, they cut apart what is supposed to be together? Guess what is supposed to be together? And to create harmony in society? The knowledge of guidance, and the knowledge of science, and the knowledge of sociology, and the knowledge of political science, and the knowledge of psychology, and the knowledge anthropology. All these sciences are not supposed to be divorced from revealed knowledge. They're supposed to be married to revealed knowledge. They're supposed to go hand in hand. These are two sides of the same coin, the knowledge of the human being. Human beings have acquired, you can call this acquired knowledge, and human beings have revealed knowledge. And they're supposed to go hand in hand. Let me give you an example of how Muslims have done this. Today, for example, if you go into many parts of the Muslim world, either you go to the university to study Islam, or you go to study political science or history, or the college and university system is something else. The madrasa system is something else. There are two separate entities that don't have anything to do with each other. Originally, these two sides of knowledge are supposed to interact with one another. Look at the most sacred of our texts. The most sacred, at the top of sacred knowledge in Islam is the Quran. How much of the Quran deals with creation? Observations about creation. Look at the sky, look at the mountain, look at the ocean, look at travel, look at trade, history, all this stuff that you would study in other areas. Allah forces us to deal with the world, deal with worldly things. But they're supposed to be in harmony. So what's happened in the modern world is the Muslims either go entirely towards religious knowledge and have no idea of how the world works. If you don't, for example, understand how modern finance works, at its core, have a deep understanding of it, how are you going to produce an economic solution that's actually viable for not just Muslims, the world? That's based on Allah's guidance. How can you do that? If you don't understand how society is organized, sociology, how are you going to produce solutions from our deen that help society get better? You have to understand both sides of the picture. How are for example, in Islamic tradition, there's ruqya and jinn possession and all of that stuff. And in modern sciences, there's psychology and schizophrenia. And, is it possible that, sometimes Muslims do wild and crazy and illegitimate things to do exorcisms. Like they'll try to beat the girl to do an exorcism on a child, do an exorcism on them. How do you know they're not suffering from a psychological disorder? I'm not saying that the latter doesn't exist. Or the former doesn't exist. It can. But how do you know if you don't study both sciences? These are sciences that are supposed to go hand in hand. So we understand what we're dealing with in the world around us. Our a'imma, our ulama are supposed to be scholars all around. And if we can't have that, then we at least should have think tanks where people of different sciences sit together. Where the scholars of fiqh and lawyers sit together. Where the scholars of, muhaddithun and sociologists